Hey guys, my name is Loveless, and here we are back with Mollitudo, which I finally figured out how to say the word. It only took 14 chapters to figure it out, which is pathetic, to be honest. I am kind of upset. Let's get straight into chapter 14 before I distract myself. Before I distract myself with something else. And you may or may not hear stuff in the background. I will try to keep that at a minimum, but I can only control but so much. He felt his heart pounding, blood rushing in his ears. Fear, terror, Vex's face, his ever creepy smile as he leaned in closer, his own breath sounding weak as he gasped at Vex to stop. He never listened. No! Izuku sat up. His chest was heaving. The room was dark around him. Blind with panic, he tumbled out of his bed, landing harshly on the ground, his long pants softening the blow as he scrambled towards his desk, turning on the desk lamp. All Might's smile greeted him as a low dim was cast in the room. It's okay. This is your room. You're safe. Izuku wiped his tears as he sunk into his chair. You're not there. You can move. There's a light. He looked at his clock. 3 a.m. He placed his face in his hands, breathing in slowly. He could feel the sweat drip down the sides of his face. Izuku ran a hand through his messy hair tiredly. He remembered Aizawa's word, post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms. Izuku knew it all by heart. They studied it in the unit on dealing with trauma victims. He also knew he was probably displaying enough to warrant some concern from his side. He knew that he had started to slip after visiting Recovery Girl, but he didn't want to trouble anyone. He saw how he was constantly bringing down the mood when he started panicking, how Unaraka's smile quickly slipped off as she stared at him worriedly. His own friends gravitated towards him. It was obvious. Back when he had hit the table, he knew they were trying to, not so subtly, help him. If he went to the teachers, they would know he's not okay. He would only trouble them. Everyone expected Izuku to be fine. But he was, for the most part. Even though he slipped up, back in the common room, he managed to pull off looking normal for most days. He just had to avoid things that brought back memories, such as unexpected touches, small, dark rooms, hands in his hairs, restraint, but simple things he could easily avoid. Nightmares are new, though. Izuku shuddered, feeling frustrated. Second day in a row he's woke up with one. His eyes trained on the light, ignoring how dark his room was. He hugged his knees, wishing he could turn on the lights in his room. But that's basically a beacon for anyone to know something was wrong. The walls felt like they were closing in. Izuku was hit with the strongest urge to run out of his room, to go find Kacchan. He knew he had been clinging to Kacchan ever since he was kidnapped. He couldn't help it. Kacchan was safe. He was strong. He was everything Izuku wasn't. Even now, the stray thoughts had surfaced in his mind. Kacchan's apology. He didn't understand why Kacchan stayed patient with him, why Kacchan tried so hard to take care of him. Was it atonement? Did he feel sorry for antagonizing him in middle school? If that was the case, Izuku didn't want it. He didn't want Kacchan to pity him. He didn't want Kacchan to be nice because he wanted Izuku to know he was sorry. They practiced together, ate amicably together. Kacchan had even given him tips on One for All. Izuku thought they were well on their way to being friends. Now he was just confused. Izuku couldn't tell if Kacchan just felt sorry for him. Was it an attempt at sacrificing himself? Atonement? If it was, Izuku didn't want that. Kacchan was important, and Izuku wanted to be with him. He wanted to wake up to Kacchan's sleepy face. He wanted to feel Kacchan's soft arms around him. He'd rather Kacchan didn't care than do all of this. in a sick attempt at making up to him. Izuku trembled. He wanted answers, but at the same time, he was terrified. If Kacchan figured out he liked him, would he be disgusted? Izuku craved his gentle touch, his concerned gaze. He knew that if he called now, Kacchan would definitely come. He was dependable like that. Kacchan would hold him to sleep, and Izuku would be able to sleep without dreaming. He looked at his new phone. His old one had been confiscated as evidence. And Izuku mourned all the memories that were lost. The conversations with his friends. The selfies. Pictures. Vex's pictures are inside too, though. That's why they confiscated it. Yet again, Izuku found himself scrolling to Kacchan's contact. His thumb hovered over the call button. You can't always depend on Kacchan, you dumbass. What if he decides that you're not worth his time anymore? He had so many questions. He couldn't think, couldn't face Kacchan, even though he wanted him so badly. Izuku was exhausted. He couldn't stop thinking about everything. He locked his phone, muffling a sob in his arms. Katsuki could tell something was off with Deku, which was weird because Deku had been completely fine, besides the whole mess in the classroom. Katsuki remembered being completely weirded out by the babbling mess in his arms, but Deku had been fine. Then he came back. Knee cast removed and everything had been off. Deku rejected his touch. It felt wrong. Katsuki had felt disappointed. It was like the metaphoric trust Deku had placed in his hands had been wrenched away at that very moment. Watching Deku put on a mask between everyone, including Katsuki, made him angry. Times like this reminded Katsuki that something was wrong, even though Deku had been trying to act normal. When Deku had waddled down to the common room, still half awake, Uraraka had one glance at his face and ran up to him. What happened? Katsuki could hear her ask in a low voice. You look like you cried the whole night. It's nothing. I just didn't sleep well. The nerd had a fake smile on his face. It made for an unnerving sight, with the red-rimmed eyes at her unconvinced look. He said a little more firmly, and Katsuki could hear the underlying tone of frustration. I'm fine, really. He continued to wave off others and ambled into the kitchen, meeting Katsuki's eyes. Kacchan, he greeted, surprise coloring his face. Hey, nerd. Katsuki's eyes followed Deku as he approached him, resting a hip on the counter. Didn't sleep well? Katsuki knew Deku probably didn't want anyone to ask, judging from the tone he had with the Uraraka. Akatsuki was never one with tact. Deku's face dropped. Deku's hands really had a lot of scars, huh? Katsuki mused as he watched him fill up his cup. I'm fine. The nerd eventually lied. Lied. Katsuki felt offended that he had the gall to lie to him. Now when Katsuki could read Deku's lies like a book. You're not fooling anyone, Deku. Your face says otherwise. What happened? Nightmares? Deku's shoulders slumped as he drank from his cup, looking at the floor. Yeah. Katsuki hummed. He hesitated, then said slowly, You could have called me. Deku looked at him, and Katsuki wondered what the emotions on his face were. They made Deku's face look off, like he was bothered by Katsuki himself. Deku parted his mouth to reply, but it was interrupted by Ida, who shouted at them to get to class before they were late. The fuck? Stupid Four Eyes. I'll talk to you later, Kacchan. Whatever emotions that was on Deku's face were gone, wiped by a plastic smile on his face as he set the cup down. Thanks for asking. What the fuck? Izuku knew he wasn't fooling anyone. It made him irrationally angry and frustrated, and it showed in his actions. He could have sworn Todoroki gave him the most absurdly confused blink when Izuku knocked his head into his palm earlier. The lack of sleep didn't help. It made Izuku feel like he was back in the room, his eyes raw and dry again. He hated it. He was trying to forget everything and move on. But it was like the more he tried not to think, or talk about it, the more the memories threatened to overtake his daily life. Felt like they could constantly resurface in any little things he did. Deku? A soft tap on his shoulders. Izuku met Yutaraka's guilty eyes when he flinched hard and turning to look at her. Sorry, she tacked on sleepishly. It's okay, slipped out easily from his mouth. It was the phrase Izuku had been saying ever since he came back, including I'm fine, I just slept badly, and the phrases around the lines to convince people he was okay. Well, it's lunchtime now, and you've been zoning out hard, Todoroki said beside her. His eyes were trained worriedly on Izuku. Izuku looked around and jumped when he realized the class was empty. Whoops. Midoriya? Izuku looked at Todoroki, who had pulled up a chair to face him. You know you can tell us anything, right? Izuku rubbed his eyes and said tiredly, I know. I swear, I'm just trying to get back to normal. Remember what you said to me? Ida added, we're friends. So tell us about anything. We'll listen. Izuku thinks about their horrified faces in the common room. He knows they mean well, but he knows they won't like hearing about what happened. He can't burden them with that. I'm really okay, was the only thing he said at the end, giving a small smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. I just had a pretty bad dream. Later on, when Kacchan approached him, Izuku knew that he wanted to continue the conversation, definitely picking up on the weird atmosphere they had in the morning. He was tired, though. He wanted to sleep. So when Kacchan walked up to him, he simply said he was going to bed. He didn't stop him. For the next 3 days, Katsuki couldn't corner Deku at all. Meanwhile, the nerd continued to act like nothing was wrong, even though everyone could tell his smiles didn't quite reach his eyes. Deku's smile had always lit up his entire face, making his eyes glint with excitement. The nerd would bounce on the spot, making the person he was focused on feeling like they were the entire world. But this was off. Katsuki would feel frustrated. He wanted to help. He wanted to know what the fuck was going on with Deku. He hid everything beyond a blank face, always acting like everything was okay. For a while. His nerd friends took everything at face value, but they too slowly noticed something was off. Slowly noticing something was wrong with Deku's mask kept chipping off, with the ever-deepening of dark circles. You need to talk to Deku. Katsuki peered at the curry boiling in the pot. He took a sip. Needs more spice. He walked past Yutaraka, grabbing the spice. Said girl walked closer, as she repeated her request. Bakugo, are you listening? I know, round face, he replied, eyes still trained on his curry. But Deku's... He paused. He knew Deku's been avoiding him lately. Nerd's been acting off ever since he came back from Recovery Girl. I know, Yutaraka said, frustration making her throw her hands up as she reached for a glass of water. He was fine when he was in the hospital. Then he came back and had told his experience. And then he was okay the next day. Then suddenly, he's just quiet. She clutched the cup, and Katsuki saw her eyes turn sad. I don't even hear him muttering anymore. We've tried to talk to him. We tried to tell him to talk to us, but it just made him even quieter. Katsuki pondered. He knew what Deku was like. Knowing Deku, his voice was quiet, and it got Yutaraka to look at him immediately. He probably doesn't want to burden you. Okay, then you talk to him, Yutaraka said. Tell him to stop being so distant because it's not helping him. Her eyes were hopeful. You know he listens to you. Fat chance he does, Katsuki scoffs. He's more stubborn than you think. You guys are just fooled by his angel face. Yutaraka looked like she had more to say, but was ignored by Katsuki for the sake of his curry. Get the fuck out, round face. Let me cook my curry, he snapped, the temporary peace broken by the bubbling of the sauce. Just try, okay? Yutaraka called out as Katsuki waved the ladle threatening at her. Dinner won't be a good time to pester Deku, Katsuki thought, as he stared Deku down across the table. He tried to avoid his gaze, only replying when people talked to him. His shoulders were hunched slightly, and Katsuki knew that Deku probably didn't even realize he was doing it. He continued to avoid him after dinner, and Katsuki missed his chance to talk to him before he retreated into his room. He saw Yutaraka giving him the look, and he flipped her off. Knocking on his door had no response too, so he texted, "Nerd, fucking talk to me. You, 905. Kachan, I'm tired, sad face. I'm going to bed. Shitty Deku, 907. Stop ignoring your friends, Deku. You're gonna get 4 eyes and aneurysm. You, 907. I'm not avoiding them. Shitty Deku, 908. Can we talk? You, 909. I'm sorry, I'm not lying when I said I'm tired. For real. Shitty Deku, 909. Deku, come on. You, 909. Please. You, 915. Tomorrow, I promise. Shitty Deku, 916. It didn't wait until tomorrow, though. Katsuki woke up in the middle of the night. He didn't know why, but something made him wake up. It was raining, and Katsuki could hear the soft rumble of thunder in the distance. He squinted at his phone. 4:30 a.m. He groaned and threw his face back into the pillow for a moment, then tossing it on his side, throwing his blanket off. Fuck it, he mumbled sleepily. He didn't know why, but he decided to go towards the common room. It was one of those moments where something in his gut was nagging at him to get his ass out of bed. He could use a drink anyway. He stepped into the room and startled. There was someone there. Katsuki tensed. Lighting illuminated the room, and Katsuki saw green. Deku? He knew his steps were concealed by the sound of the raindrops in the back room. Talk about lucky. Because he got closer, he could see Deku's shoulders shaking, and he realized the nerd was curled up on the sofa, face buried in his knees, hugged by his arms. The hell? Katsuki's heart jumped. Without thinking, he reached out. His hand stilled. Okay. Can't touch him directly, Katsuki. He tapped the sofa. It might as well have been a direct touch anyway, because Deku jumped, a loud cry falling from his lips, which was masked by the thunder that rumbled at the same time. He whipped around to face Katsuki. Katsuki met Deku's eyes, and in the dark, where his eyes had slowly adjusted, he could see how he looked completely terrified. He knew something was wrong. It reminded him of the several times the Deku panicked, but on more of an intense level. It was like the time in the room. He padded to the lamp quickly, flipping it on as he rounded the sofa. Deku. He sat on the area beside him. The dim light illuminated Deku's face. He saw tears streaming down, but his sobs were quiet. It felt wrong, because Deku was always loud, a messy crier. This was quiet, suppressed. It made him scared. What was wrong? What's wrong? His voice was strange to his ears. Deku? He stressed, when the nerd gave no sign of hearing him. Are you with me? He waited for a while. No sound. Screw it. Katsuki placed a firm hand on his arm, and Deku gave a full-body flinch. Izuku? He said loudly. I'm here. It's me. He wrinkled his nose, then said reluctantly, It's Kachan. Finally, Deku responded. Kachan? You're actually here. Thank fuck, Katsuki thought. But he was wrong, because Deku continued to spiral. Why are you here? Vex said he didn't take you. He struggled, hands reaching out to grab Katsuki tightly. Are you okay? Fuck. Deku patted him down, eyes wide. Did he hurt you? His voice was shaky and wet. With a sickening realization, Katsuki knew Deku thought he was in the room, with him. No, Deku, we're in school. We're in school, remember? Katsuki said, feeling lost. He didn't know what to do. What the hell did Aizawa do last time? He stood up, shrugging off Deku's hands. Deku wailed suddenly, and Katsuki flinched. Kachan, no, come back. I can't reach you if you go away. Crap. Deku, look, you can move. Katsuki sat down. He wanted to get ice, but he knew at this rate the nerd will wake up the entire dorm. He grabbed Deku's hands and moving them slowly around. Look, your legs. They're free. He moved to his legs and watched how Deku looked at them, entranced. He lifted Deku's legs. Deku seemed confused. Katsuki looked at that as a good sign, as he continued. Tell me what you see. The area. It's huge, right? I see You a common room? Deku whispered back reverently. Gachan, am I dreaming? Is this a nightmare again? No, you're awake. Katsuki placed a hand on the back of Deku's arm. Feel this? It's soft and warm. Deku's eyes were slowly clearing. They sat there for a while, and Katsuki could tell when awareness slid back into Deku's eyes. Damn it, this is all his fault. Damn it, this is all his fault, isn't it? The whole fucking time he's been worried about me being kidnapped. He felt guilty and angry. He made a mess again. It seemed like that's all he ever did, especially around Deku. Kachan, Deku said softly. Thanks. Don't fucking thank me, Katsuki said, his voice hard. Tell me instead. A long silence. Have you been having panic attacks this whole time? Katsuki asked, almost afraid. His hands are still on Deku's arms, and he unconsciously gripped tighter. What were you doing out here? Deku shook his head. Then, that at least seemed true. No, I really just had a bad nightmare this time. He seemed to shake, and Katsuki pressed closer, his brain yelling at him to comfort. He still felt spooked at Deku's total immersion into a flashback. I wanted a bigger space. What exactly is wrong with you, nerd? Katsuki said softly but harshly. Why are you avoiding your friends? A pause. Why are you avoiding me? Deku looked up at him at that sentence, and Katsuki was struck by the impossibly tired look on Deku's face. The mask that Deku kept putting on had slipped, and in its place was pure fatigue, stress lines under his eyes, highlighted by the dim desk lamp. Deku shifted back. Did you really tell Vex you'd exchange yourself for me? There it was. So Deku did know about it. Was this why he was avoiding him the whole time? Was he just angry? Did seeing Katsuki make him feel worse? Was he one of the causes for Deku's panic attacks, after all? Yes. He deserved to know. Why? Why? Deku sounded pissed, and Katsuki could tell on his face. You shouldn't have done that. It would have been okay if it was just me. I won't stand it if you got captured too. His voice became softer at the end, sounding emotional. So just you is okay. Katsuki felt himself snap back in response, stress and anger for his own uselessness bubbling over. It was one logical way to get the stupid fucker to show himself, so I tried it. I would have taken steps to prevent myself from getting kidnapped anyway. Deku took a deep breath. Yes, if it was me. Stop being so self-sacrificial, you stupid nerd. Katsuki's voice was trembling. He meant every word he was saying. Have you not thought about what it looks like for everyone else who cares for you? What am I saying? It's not like I can blame Deku for this. But he was frustrated. He wanted to help, but Deku was making it so hard for him to help. It felt like there was a stone wall. Lots of things that Deku was keeping to himself, refusing to tell Katsuki. It was like Deku had told everyone a lot, but also nothing about his own mental health. Deku was quiet. His eyes seemed heavier, distant. Katsuki wished Deku would tell him what he was so scared about. You told us about the physical torture you went through, Katsuki pressed on, but not about the mental ones. There is no way that bastard didn't fuck with you mentally. But you won't talk. He gritted his teeth. You're always like this. You just don't want your nerd friends to worry. So it's not like just never show how affected you are by everything. You pretend everything's fine until it isn't. It's not like you're not the same. Deku finally muttered. You would exchange yourself for me if you could. Akachan I know in the past wouldn't have done this. Katsuki reeled back. He felt like he got punched in the gut. So why, Akachan? Deku sounded lost. His voice trembled. Why would you choose to even think about that? And this care you've been showing me, is it because you just want to atone? He honestly didn't know. I understand. Deku sniffled, and he was crying again. You did say you felt sorry for everything you did, but Kachan, Deku hiccuped. While saying his name, I don't want you to do that for me. I never ever blamed you. His body shook with tremors. You know what he said? He said he already took you at one point. Deku's sobs were audible this time. He wrapped his arms around himself. I was terrified. I don't want you to ever do anything for me if it was because you felt obligated to do so, because of your remorse. At this point, it was like Deku's sobs were getting out of control, turning into heaving cries. I just want to be your friend. I never wanted you to do anything for me because you were sorry. He folded, choking on his sobs. I don't even know if you actually care or not. I can't tell. I'm so lost. Katsuki didn't even have an answer for him. Oh my god, I can't believe I did this in one go. Oh. Okay, but I did this. Woo. Now I shall take a break. So if you want to see